being here tonight. Thank you to friends and family and people who've flown in for this. It's extraordinary to read with such amazing writers, and it's a total honor to be published with Louise and Angela and Mike, who's not here. And I want to say thank you to Peg, who's now hiding, for being really a beyond a dream editor. Just like what a writer imagines would happen when somebody walks with you into the caves of your book and helps you see what it could possibly be. And to everybody, to Cass, and to everybody at WTAW Press for being just, I don't know, extraordinary. So thank you to Ron, who's put up with the writing of this for a really long time. So it came out yesterday, right? And it's the story of 3 generations of a family of performers and scientists and activists and addicts. And it's in 9 pieces, and I'm just going to read the beginning of one of the pieces. It's called Shoreside. The arc of the book is a wacky one, but that means that I don't have to do any setup at all. Santa Cruz, September 2000. Shoreside is all greige. Greige linoleum, greige walls, greige blankets on the hard, thin beds. Ariel's still shaky, unfocused. Last night was the worst. She wrecked everything. She should be dead, but instead she's surrounded by people so crazy they have to be locked up in here. Gina, a woman she sort of remembers from last night, is giving her a tour. Gina's oldish, maybe 50 or 60, but she has cat's eye glasses, leopard-patterned leggings, and a blouse covered with tropical flowers. Her graying hair sticks up on one side. She seems like she doesn't give a fuck. Still, she's explaining everything to Ariel, and she only seems a little weird, not full-out bedbug. She says, breakfast in a few minutes. That's your first chance to start earning points. We get a point for staying in bed at night, a point for sitting through community meeting or talking in group, a point each time we take a tray of their food and consume at least 80%. She laughs for no apparent reason, and Ariel semi-laughs with her. To do well in Shoreside sounds like hard work, with as many bullshit hoops to jump through as high school. A big guy shoulders past, and Ariel squeezes up against the wall. Are any of these people murderers? Gina says, don't worry about Jerry. You should stay out of his way when he's going off, but he doesn't mean anything by it. That feels distinctly uncomforting. Maybe he means well, maybe he doesn't, but the real question is what kinds of damage he might do. For all she knows, she's already damaged herself. The hospital psychiatrist wouldn't let her go home, even when her mother said they could look after her, even when Ariel pleaded to go back to her own room. The psychiatrist told her parents, you're not objective enough to evaluate the situation. Now Ariel's trapped here for at least 3 days. Who knows what could happen in that time? Maybe she really will go crazy. Gina leads her down the hall, saying kindly, sometimes we can smell salt air during yard exercise, and when we get enough points, there could be a walk to the beach. She takes Ariel into her room and opens her nightstand. Everyone's nightstands, beds, and footlockers are identical, as if they've all joined some weird army. In her drawer, Gina's made a small altar with a sand dollar and a piece of kelp. With enough points, you can earn weekend furlough, or even get out altogether to the halfway house near the lagoon. Then you can get up in the morning and walk to the sea. How many points is that? Maybe it's okay to have fewer choices. Maybe Ariel doesn't want weekend furlough. Maybe she doesn't want to go home. Even though some of these people scare her, she can't hurt anyone in here, including herself. No one will let her near a razor or pills. No one will look at her with anxious pity. Gina takes Ariel to the nurse's station and asks how many points it will take to get to the halfway house. They're busy and try to brush her off, but she won't go away. Wouldn't it be motivational for us to know? She asks an aide whose name tag says Rebecca. Fingernails of an empress, tracings of red-blue veins across her nose and cheeks. You'll have to discuss your situation with your doctor, dear. The important thing is, you keep your end of the contract. You know what you need to do to get points. Just stay on track. We'll let you know when you hit your targets. As Gina and Ariel walk away, Ariel asks, didn't they ever tell you how many points you need to get to the halfway house? It comes out more rudely than she'd intended. She smiles to make up for it. Well, maybe it's my mind or maybe it's the medications. I know what matters, but the details get away from me. And the staff likes to change the rules from time to time. It helps us all remember they're in charge, but they're doing their best within their own limits. Though it's ungreat not to be able to just walk out, the doors all locked, their windows threaded with wire, and a double locking area between doors like an airlock in a spaceship, still it feels as if this could be a kind of temporary home, a working system. She's so fucking toxic. She wanted to quit living before she poisoned everyone around her, and last night will only have made it so much worse. In the common room, there's a bearded guy rocking back and forth in a chair. Gina says to him, as well as to Ariel, it's like school. The real purpose isn't to learn history or science. You learn getting up every morning. You learn sitting in the chair. With that skill set, you're ready to go to work. The guy says, do you know what can happen if you distract me? You'll end all of this. He makes an explosion with his hands, blowing out his breath. The poster behind him reads, peace begins at home. Hands clasp each other over an obviously feeble-minded dove. Gina guides this lost child down the hall back to her own room. She needs to check on her best friend Marjorie to make sure she's up. The aides will be rougher with her if they have to wake her themselves. Ariel looks puzzled as if she's trying to shake off a dream and wondering if she's now in another dream. She seems less unhappy though, so Gina doesn't tell her how before the meds kick in. She's learned to close her eyes and hold the sand dollar and kelp to her nose, turning her back to the wind with the sand blowing against her legs, sand crabs burrowing at the tide line. It's better to downplay the shadier aspects of this place for someone seeing it all for the first time. She herself is 53, and since her teens has slipped back and forth, in and out the window. Each time they lock you up again. The state hospitals, the locked facilities, the meds. Sometimes you can stand your life in exile from the world, and then sometimes not one more day. Your lungs close up. You'll die in a cage. In the middle of the night before, loud crying woke her. She'd tongued her bedtime sleeping pill instead of swallowing. Some nights she prefers not to be put under, even if it means hearing the muffled calling of other sleepers flailing in their beds. Maybe those others tongued their meds too. If they catch you, it's the shot in the ass instead. And of course, you lose points. But the drugged sleep is too thick. The pills make you groggy for hours in the mornings. She got out of bed and went to investigate the commotion. The nurse's station rose up out of a cold blank space that branched into corners. A fluorescent light flickered badly, the floor smelling of piss and strong chemicals. In the first of the patient chairs, the aides and a guard stood over a girl of 14 or 15. Ariel, though of course Gina didn't know her yet. She was shaking and weeping. She should have been in Willow Grove with the other kids, but that place often had a shortage of beds. Probably she was pretty in a better moment. Now she was a sick mess. Her long silvery hair matted, her eyes shadowed, her skin gray. The security guard who came with her in the ambulance stood over her at the nurse's station like a kindly but disapproving uncle. You want to look after yourself. Your life is a gift from God. You have to make what you can of it. In the second chair sat Jonathan, who was sent down to state a few months earlier, a crowded barracks of a place where, in Gina's experience, the food is even worse and most of the doctors are trainees. He wouldn't have been allowed back at Shoreside if he hadn't been doing better, but sure wasn't apparent last night as he sat restlessly in his chair, uttering long strings of curses, his eyes unfocused. Stan, one of the middling aides, bustled around. Jonathan, let Sherry and me do your vitals and you can go to bed. Right down the hall from your last room. Aren't you tired? His voice when he said bed was full of longing. Ariel had her hands over her face, crying. She was loud. Now come on, Sherry said. Not one of the good aides. She talked to Ariel as if she were talking to a 2-year-old. I can't put you to bed yet, so we're going to have to restrain you sitting up if you can't calm down. I can't give you anything. Your body's had enough tonight. Vodka, ibuprofen, Ambien, and decongestants? Really? Decongestants? She looked up from the report, grinning. No shit. When she saw Gina, she asked, what are you doing out of bed? What's going on here? That's what I've been trying to figure out. That's exactly the question. Crazy nights for 40, please, Alex. What am I doing out of bed, and what's going on here? Ariel, despite the terrible shape she was in, laughed. Right then, a voice inside Gina, it felt like one of the trustworthy ones, suggested she look after this little nut-house virgin. The child could maybe be taught not to make a career of it. Gina said, I heard a ruckus. My meds aren't working and I'm awake. She turned to the girl. If they mistreat you, you can call the patient advocate. This is a regulated snake pit, but you have to know the